Hi, it's Paul Tilley, and today we're going to take a look at Unit 11 in Training and Development. And Unit 11 deals with employee management and development. In this unit, we're going to focus on distinguishing the difference between training and development. And we're going to look specifically at development from the point of view of managers. How can we develop managers in order to make them more effective at directing and doing the roles that management is supposed to do? Specifically, we're going to take a look at the following learning objectives. We're going to define development, discuss the importance to the organization. We're going to discuss the types of employees for whom development is indicated. We're going to explain the role of human resource management in the development process. We're going to look at discussing management development itself. We're going to explain the basic role of management. We're going to list the factors used to determine whether an organization should invest in development of a given individuals. We could contrast internal development versus external development. We're going to describe the internal development methods. We're going to describe methods for external development. We're going to take a look at the advantages of external development. We're going to discuss the development partnerships and accredited institutions. And we're going to look at the controversy regarding development partnerships. And finally, we'll finish off with a discussion on succession planning. First, let's take a look at the role of management development. Human resource professionals provide information and advice about training and development. So they have a very big role in that. If we look at the human resource department, that human resource department is supposed to be able to help out people in determining where they need to go within their career. So HR personnel may also provide specialized services such as testing, determining employees' values, interests, and skills in order to point them in a direction for future development, preparing employees for job searches, and offering counseling and career-related issues and problems and solutions to those problems. Organizations then need to think about expansion, and whenever they think about expansion, they're thinking about getting new people to do jobs and bringing on new people. And the question is, how should they go about doing that? Well, first of all, during the needs analysis stage of our management development process, we need to be able to ask ourselves, what skills do our organization have? So in that end of the needs analysis, when we're looking at the organization, what skills do our organization have? And the people within the organization, what skills do they bring to it? Do we have any gaps? Are we missing any skills? Are there skills that need to be better fleshed out? So these are kind of some of the things that we really need to do in terms of the initial stages of development, just to get a handle on what the knowledge, skills, and abilities of the people in our organization are right now, and what the knowledge, skills, and ability of the people in our organization need to be in the future. So those future strategies are really going to dictate the type of skills that we're going to need as we move forward. Questions such as, is there a position that requires a specialized skill? Do our managers and supervisors have the necessary skills to perform their jobs? These all become critical when deciding whether to train or develop new employees or to hire people. We also look at the cost of development. We have to assess, is the cost worth the benefit? And what are the potential benefits, and how can we quantify those benefits? If we look at employee management development, we think about distinguishing what we mean when we say development. Well, first of all, let's take a look at training. Training refers to a planned effort by an organization to ease the learning of the job-related behavior of the employees. The term behavior is used broadly to include all the knowledge and skills acquired by the employee through practice. When management wants to prepare employees for future job responsibility, this activity then becomes known as human resource development. Training prepares people to do their present job, whereas development tends to focus on preparing people to do future jobs. Development, as opposed to training, deals with a more formal education, longer run job experiences, relationships, and the ability of employees to perform their current and future job. Generally, development is getting employees and managers ready for the future. If you look at this particular graphic here, this graphic is really good to kind of size up and sum up exactly what the distinctions are between training and development. First, if you look at training, the major focus of training is to learn specific behaviors and actions and to demonstrate techniques and processes. Whereas from a development point of view, understanding informational concepts in the context of which they occur developing judgment, expanding capacities for our assignments, these sorts of things. So it's much more broad when we look at development, and it tends to be much longer in focus. We also look at how can we effectively measure these things. Well, let's take a look. Well, performance appraisals, cost-benefit analysis, passing tests, certification are really tangible measures that we can use in training. But development is harder to measure. We got to look at the organization, the needs in our organization, any gaps that exist within our organization, the availability of qualified people, the possibility of promotion from within, and is there some advantage that can be gained to our organization by having those people? Can we competitively develop people in such a way that our organization is better off and works better in the future? So as I said, development is future-oriented, necessary part of any company's future. And what does development do? Well, it looks at improving quality. It certainly helps retain key employees. It certainly meets global competitive challenges, and as we work into a more globalized world, that's going to become more important. Meets social change challenges, this is a big one. Incorporates technological change, meets changes in work design, and again, ultimately, all of that helps an organization become more competitive and stay more competitive. If we look at global challenges in particular, global challenges is a bit of a trick, because when we look at our competitors, we say, are they local, or are they national, or are they global? Most organizations really today in the internet world are looking at global competition as much as local competition. So global challenges mean that employees need to understand different cultures and customs they meet, and they must also have excellent interpersonal skills to be able to deal with people. Managers need to be able to identify potential employees for whom would benefit most from development and be able to contribute most from that development. And development activities can reduce turnover and showing employees the company is willing to invest in them. We also need to draw a distinction between management development and employee development. Management development is much more focused on developing managers. So training is different than development, and when we look at development can be broken into two parts too. Managers are only as effective as the people they manage, so they must develop all groups, including the employees. And things like interpersonal skills are a real trick one that makes management easier, and so if we could develop interpersonal skills, that would certainly help all managers. So training design techniques for management development are sometimes different than training for employees. Management development tends to be geared more towards informational and experiential training. Training has to take into account various management styles, personalities, and preferences, and management training tends to be long-term because of the more complex tasks involved in management. Now, what's the downside of not doing any of this? Well, incompetent managers can damage an organization, thus management training has to be more strategic for organizations. Well, what are some of the things that managers do? What are some of the core roles that managers have that we can do development for? Well, if we look at management tends to break down into three basic roles. The first role is interpersonal roles, dealing with people. So interpersonal roles refers to the relationship managers develop with other people. Managers have to be able to motivate others and deal with people both inside and outside the organization in order to promote the organization. Managers represent the organization and thus are able to provide leadership to it. In terms of informational roles, that's how do managers handle and manage and distribute and communicate information. So managers are responsible for information that can affect the organization. This could be informal from outside the company, such as the labor market and economic climate, as well as information from inside the organization, such as new technology updates, personnel issues. A manager has to act as a spokesperson for the department and the organization. So that inside communication and outside communication role is critical. Finally, we look at decisional roles. Management are in the role in order to make decisions. So managers have to be able to make decisions daily. Decisions range from who should cover the lunch hour phones to how do we lay off or who do we lay off in terms of employees in downtimes. A manager must be able to take advantage of opportunity or change things within the department if there are things that can damage production. A manager may be an entrepreneur, a resource allocator, a negotiator, and or a troubleshooter. Now, if we look at the key functions of management that we develop, well, management tends to have four major functions. Controlling. That is, looks at monitoring employees and the processes to make sure that they're performing properly. Controlling is a very important management role. Organizing. Managers have to ensure that the efforts are coordinated and efficiently run. Again, very important role. Planning. Managers have to be able to make sure that all employees are performing their duties according to the organizational goals and strategic plans. This is very important, and the manager has to define the objectives. What has got to be done, who's got to do it, and when does it have to be done by. Leading is another key thing. Managers have to be able to influence employees to work at their potential and to produce the products that the organization wants to create. So again, that motivation comes into play. Managers have to inspire and share a vision and to make sure that people are aware of the vision. In terms of the key skills that managers would have to do all these things, you can boil it down to probably about 10 key skills. Communication skills being number one. Managers have to be able to communicate internally as well as externally. They have to be able to manage time and stress. They have to be able to manage individual decisions. They have to be able to recognize, define, and solve problems. They have to be able to motivate and influence others. They have to be able to delegate, to spread the load. They have to be able to set goals and articulate a clear vision that people can understand and move towards. They can be all these wonderful things, but if they're not things like self-aware, aware of their strengths and weaknesses, that's going to impede their ability to do those things. So self-awareness is a critical role as well. Team building as part of the efforts to delegate, and of course, managing conflict. If we look at managers, in terms of how can we develop the key skills, the interpersonal skills, the conceptual skills, and the technical skills. In terms of the conceptual skills, being able to be a good problem solver by defining a problem, generating alternatives, evaluating each alternative, and implementing a solution is critical. They have to be able to do those things. In terms of their interpersonal skills, we've got to look at things like can they communicate? Can they manage conflict? Can they manage stress? And in terms of their technical skills, we're looking at things like computer skills or mechanical skills, budgeting skills. Managers need to be able to take those technical skills where they take the theory and they apply it to the workplace. And those are very, very important. In terms of how we can develop managers, well, there's a number of ways, and probably one of the ones that is held up most is experiential learning. Experiential learning looks at learning through doing, and this could include everything like on-the-job training, technology-based instruction, management development training. All of these things are really focusing on how can we use people's experiences as learning guides. Where should we get this training done? Well, we got two choices: do it internally or do it externally. Look at external. External has some key advantages. It exposes managers to current thinking, it removes the organizational constraints, it allows the interchange of ideas, and it may cost less. So external education is often used. There are some downsides. The external trainers or the external developers have an inability to relate to the content of company-specific information. Sometimes there's inconsistency in the delivery, the inability to specify, to offer companies specific pieces of information or specific pieces of training. So these sorts of things come into play that affect it. In terms of on-the-job management training methods, we have things like providing mentors, providing coaches, good job experiences, rotating jobs, job enlargement, or promotions. Those all come into play as key delivery agents for on-the-job training. Finally, in this unit, we look at succession planning. Now, succession planning is all about identifying and developing future leaders in an organization. That is, who do we have now, assessing where they are in their careers. We need to figure out when those people will probably leave the organization and make plans to put new people in their positions or people with a certain set of skills in their positions. So succession planning means identifying and developing future leaders in the organization. It requires managers to systematically conduct a review of leadership talent and helps ensure the availability of top-level managerial talent in organizations. So we really need to identify positions, identify employees, develop standards for evaluation, develop succession plans that come out of that, and then to implement those succession plans. So that's a quick review of that unit. If you have any questions, please let me know.